Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Haylee Ficuciello, Senior Correspondent for Englebrook Independent News. Tonight, we take you across the Great Plains and South Central United States for a look at some of the most significant federal criminal prosecutions announced during the closing week of June. From narcotic trafficking and financial fraud to identity theft, child exploitation, violent crimes, and large-scale healthcare fraud, federal prosecutors continue pursuing major cases throughout the region. We begin tonight in Montana. Federal prosecutors announced that Rafael Gonzalez Martinez, 61, of Billing, pled guilty to possession with the intent to distribute methamphetamine. According to prosecutors, investigators determined Martinez trafficked methamphetamine throughout the Billings area. He now faces a mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years in federal prison and could receive life imprisonment when sentenced later this year. Federal prosecutors also announced Jordan Andrew Hennessy, 38, pled guilty to bank fraud. According to court records, Hennessy admitted to falsifying loan documents while employed by First Interstate Bank, fraudulently approving a $50,000 loan himself. Sentencing will take place later this year. Federal prosecutors also announced Dustin Lee Wolf, 42, received a combined 20-year federal prison sentence after pleading guilty to methamphetamine trafficking and possession of a firearm during a drug trafficking crime. According to investigators, the investigation recovered nearly 2 pounds of methamphetamine, more than $14,000 in suspended drug proceedings, multiple firearms, and drug trafficking equipment during a separate enforcement operation. Federal officials say the case reflects ongoing efforts to target armed drug traffickers operating throughout the eastern Montana. From Montana, we continue into North Dakota. Federal prosecutors announced that Rianta Lynn Freeman, 32, of Minton, was sentenced to 42 months in federal prison after orchestrating a wire fraud and aggravated identity theft scheme targeting individual Indian Money, or IIM, trust accounts administered by the Department of Interior. According to prosecutors, Freeman impersonated tribal members to gain unauthorized access to federally managed trust accounts, stealing more than $51,000. The court also imposed 3 years of supervised release and ordered full restitution. Federal prosecutors also announced the sentencing of War Eagle, Rolling Thunder Martin, and Samantha Lynn Rebold in a separate identity theft conspiracy involving another IIM trust account. According to prosecutors, the pair fraudulently obtained nearly $12,000 belonging to tribal members. Martin received 24 months in federal prison, followed by 1 year of supervised release. Rebold received a sentence of time served, followed by 3 years of supervised release. Federal officials say the prosecutions highlight the continued effort to protect federally managed trust accounts serving Native American communities from fraud and identity theft. From North Dakota, we continue into South Dakota. Federal prosecutors announced that Luke Bash, 21, of Strungish, received 7 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to receipt of child sexual abuse material. According to prosecutors, Bash used online platforms over a 2-year period to obtain and store more than 2,500 images and 445 videos depicting sexual abuse of children. The court also imposed 5 years of supervised release and nearly $49,000 in victim restitution and forfeiture of electronic devices during the offenses. From South Dakota, we continue into Nebraska. Federal prosecutors announced Cody Bullman, 35, of Lincoln, received 60 months or 5 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to attempting to receipt of child sexual abuse material. According to prosecutors, Bullman communicated online with undercover officers posing as a 13-year-old girl before sending sexually explicit images and requesting explicit material from the person he believed to be a minor. The court also imposed an 8-year of supervised release. Federal officials say undercover online investigations remain one of the law's enforcement most effective tools for identifying child predators before abuse occurs. From Nebraska, we continue into Colorado. Federal prosecutors announced the indictment charging Mohammed Ellis Omar, 35, with 12 counts involving allegedly Medicaid kickback violations. According to prosecutors, Omar allegedly paid illegal referrals fees, including Medicaid beneficiaries, to attend an adult daycare facility in Alfred County. The charges remain allegations, and Omar is presumed innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. Federal prosecutors also announced Bentley Watts Jr., 22, of Tahawk, received 87 months in federal prison after pleading guilty to assaulting with the intent to commit abuse, sexual contact, and assault with dangerous weapon in Indian County. According to prosecutors, the offense occurred at the Ute Mountain Ute Reservation in 2024. The court also imposed 3 years of supervised release. Federal officials say the case reflects continued cooperation between tribal, federal, and local law enforcement in prosecuting violent crimes on tribal lands. From Colorado, we continue into Kansas. Federal prosecutors announced that Garrett Gasso, 25, of Baxter Springs, received 222 months, or 18 and a half years, in federal prison after pleading guilty to producing child sexual abuse material. According to prosecutors, Gasso groomed a 16-year-old victim he met online and persuaded the victim to send sexually explicit images over several months. Federal investigators recovered more than 100 child sexual abuse images during the investigation. Federal prosecutors also announced that Joseph Donald Dube, 40, of Topeka, received 90 months, or 7.5 years, in federal prison after pleading guilty to possession of child sexual abuse material. According to the investigators, federal search warrants recovered multiple electronic devices containing illegal images of depicting child as young as 12 years old. From Kansas, we continue into Oklahoma. Federal prosecutors announced multiple criminal and civil actions as a part of Department of Justice 2026 National Healthcare Fraud Takedown. Nationwide, the operations charged 455 defendants, including 90 physicians and other licensed medical professionals, in cases involving more than $6.5 billion in alleged fraud losses. Investigators also seized more than $182 million in cash, luxury vehicles, jewelry, and other assets. Within Oklahoma, federal prosecutors charged Stuart Johnson, 72, and Stephen Johnson, 47, with operating a durable medical equipment company that allegedly submitted more than 650,000 fraudulent and reimbursement claims to TRICARE. According to prosecutors, the alleged scheme involved more than $27 million in fraudulent billing between 2018 and 2024. Federal prosecutors also filed a complaint against Judy Dennis of Oklahoma City, alleging more than $2.5 million in false reimbursement claims involving speech-language pathology services. The criminal charges and civil complaints remain pending, and all allegations have not been proven in court. From Oklahoma, we continue into Texas. Federal prosecutors announced one of the largest regional component of the Department of Justice National Healthcare Fraud Takedown. According to prosecutors, 13 defendants were charged across 7 criminal cases involving more than $365 million in alleged fraudulent healthcare billings. Among those charges, Devin Jack Borman, who is accused of participating in a laboratory testing scheme that allegedly generated approximately $65 million in fraudulent Medicare billing throughout legal kickbacks. Federal prosecutors also charged Kevin Durrell Curry, owner of the Accuri TMS, with health care fraud and related offenses involving approximately $26.8 million in alleged false TRICARE claims. Investigators also seized cash and other assets, including a 2024 Tesla Cybertruck, with which prosecutors alleged was purchased using proceeds from the scheme. Federal prosecutors also charged physician Dr. Oblaki Doau, Dr. James Lou Charleson Jr., and nurse practitioner Vagun Anthony Brockis. Allegedly, they participated in medically unnecessary electronography testing tied to more than $25 million in fraudulent healthcare fraud claims. Additional indictments involve alleged hospice fraud, COVID-19 testing kickback conspiracy, wound care billing schemes extending $268 million, and durable Medicare equipment fraud. Because these cases remain pending, all defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. From Texas, we conclude our report in Louisiana. Federal prosecutors announced that Michael Doe Jr., 21, of Monterey, was indicted on charges involving the transportation and possession of child sexual abuse material. According to prosecutors, the alleged offense occurred between 2024 and January of 2026. If convicted, Doe faces a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years in federal prison and a maximum sentence of 20 years, along with supervised release and financial penalties. The charges remain allegation, and Doe is presumed innocent unless proven guilty in the court of law. Federal prosecutors also announced that Van Vessel, 50, of whom received 262 months, or nearly 22 years, in federal prison after pleading guilty to possession of more than 500 grams of methamphetamine with the intent to distribute. According to investigators, Vessel fled from officers during a traffic stop before crashing his vehicle. A subsequent search recovered more than 7 pounds of methamphetamine packed for distribution. The court also imposed 5 years of supervised release following his release from prison. Across the Great Plains and South Central United States, these federal prosecutions reflect the continued enforcement efforts targeting narcotic trafficking, violent crimes, financial fraud, identity theft, child exploitation, healthcare fraud, and organized criminal activity. While many defendants have pled guilty or been sentenced, others only recently have been charged or indicted. Under our justice system, every defendant facing pending criminal charges is presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in the court of law. We'll continue following these cases as they move through the federal court system. For continued coverage of major federal investigations, United States District Court proceedings, public corruption cases, and breaking national news, stay with Englebrook Independent News. I'm Haylee Ficuciello. Thank you for joining us and have a safe evening. Good night.